I want to come back to the one thing that I can't get my arms around is if you go to a system where everything is just, there's no income tax, whatever. There's just, it's free and whatever you earn, you keep. You get people like the Ford Foundation in the end, where that guy is dead for, 70 years, and he's still affecting my life. I, again, don't mind people amassing wealth and doing what they want, but when you're in my face and making it difficult for me because you have George Soros, billions of dollars, that guy will be dead, but he will affect the course of this planet for a very long time, and not in a way that makes people more free.
But what's the alternative, Glenn? I mean, that's the nature of property rights. Sometimes people use property in a way that you don't like. Yeah. And that's the nature of freedom. Freedom it means the ability to tolerate the fact that people are going to do stuff that is not beneficial to you, or you don't appreciate it. But look, if the heirs of people who inherit fortunes, if they are not good, if they don't live up to that fortune, they will lose the money. Now, there's some cases like Ford and a few others, but most of those fortunes are gone.
And as bad as that may be, it's 10 times worse in other countries where there are other economic systems. Look at North Korea. Look at, I was in the Soviet Union in 1991. The people who were in the power in the Soviet Union in 1991 are still in power today. Yeah. They wrote themselves ownership of everything, and they were the socialists. It's that way in communism. It's that way, with Castro and all the other systems. That's it. What you're talking about is 10 times.
So what is the thing that people? If I was sitting down with my teenagers tonight and having dinner, and you guys could say, you got to drill this into the heads of kids because they're getting a steady dose of the opposite, and this is the key of changing everything. Where would you start?
I think one of the places you need to start is talking about how wealth in a capitalist society, how fortunes change. And look at the fortunes that have been dissipated, the fortunes that have popped up over a generation, and the number of people, and I think this is the real acid test, the number of poor people who do become better off. Yeah. And the evidence for the fact that this has been going on, even despite all kinds of problems and coming from all sorts of sources that can hamper this process, is to look where the flows of people are happening in the world. People aren't leaving the capitalist world to go into less capitalist societies, and they know what they're doing.
I find it amazing that in a generation where you can be a kid playing a video game and all of a sudden you 5 years later sold something for $1 billion, that people at that age don't get it. What is the missing connection there?
Well, there's a lot of missing connections, but one of the reasons we have so much envy in the world that we see today is people don't know how wealth is created, what it means to create wealth. We still have this mentality of a zero-sum world in which some people make money, therefore it's taken from others. See, even those graphs that show the rich are very rich over here and the poor are very poor over there, the assumption, the implicit assumption is they got rich by taking it from over there. No, right. The reason they have so much wealth is because they created so much wealth. The reason the 1% have so much is because they worked hard, maybe they're smarter, whatever the reason is, they have created the wealth that they own. Put aside cronyism, under the assumption of true freedom. And the fact is that half the population of the world has not created any wealth. Most of them, unfortunately, the sad fact is, live under a political system where they're still subsistence farmers. All the wealth they create, they consume. So they have no property rights. They don't own their home. They don't own their land. But that's the problem of non-capitalist societies. So what these kids need to learn, and what's really missing, is the idea of wealth creation. And it is you built it. It is individuals, because individuals at every point in the supply chain, in the creation chain, each one of those individuals has to be responsible, has to use his mind to think, to create at whatever level they create. And in a free country, they're compensated for it.
Real quick, because I have to take a break, but real quick, do you think part of the problem is that people, we're almost self-hating egomaniacs. We want it, we want it, we want it, but if we say, well, you can do it, you don't either want to do it, you don't really, you know what I mean? And so it's easier to take it from people. You think that's a problem?
It is easier to take it now. I mean, look, I think the big problem here today in America is the way you get rich involves a lot more accumulation of hard-earned intellectual capital than you would have gotten wealthy yesterday, or even to enter the middle class. 100 years ago, to enter the middle class, you went to work in a factory, and the capitalist automatically put machinery and equipment in your hands. They said, here, work with this machinery and equipment, and it'll raise your wages. Right. Today, as we move from the industrial age to the information age, in order for a person to be successful, they have to accumulate that capital themselves, but it's intellectual capital. That's hard. And it's not, but our schools, our public school system is failing to create that for us. In 13 years out of school, K through 12, you don't emerge as a high school student with substantial knowledge enough to enter the middle class.
You're not learning. You don't leave school prepared to. I think prepared to even survive.
So how can we have income inequality when 75% of the population doesn't get beyond high school, yet they don't have substantial capital?
Back in